Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a recap of my 14-team PPR draft that I did a couple of days ago. Inside of this video, I'm going to be going over my thought process as I made each and every single pick inside of this draft, as well as going over every single pick in the draft so you guys can get my overall feeling on how the draft went. And then at the end, I'm going to be giving every single team a team grade in this video from A to F. I highly doubt anyone's going to get an F, but I haven't looked super deep in every team, so maybe someone does end up getting an F grade in this video, and that will kind of give you guys a good idea on how I look to construct a roster in a 14-team league. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we do, please make sure that if you do end up enjoying and you are new to the channel, to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out this content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship, and while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video out the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to let you guys know that my rankings are available for free on Awesemo.com. The link to those will be down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Same thing goes with my articles that I run on there every single day. So make sure that you guys do go ahead and check those out. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. So the first round begins with Christian McCaffrey at the #1 overall pick. Nothing special there. That happens in every single draft. So a great pick, not messing up and taking someone over Christian McCaffrey. At #2, we have Dalvin Cook. Again, those are the cookie cutter 1-2 punch at the beginning of the draft. So nothing too out of the ordinary there. At #3, we see Derrick Henry come off of the board, which is not even that out of the ordinary. Personally, I would have went with Alvin Kamara, but Derrick Henry is a very safe pick at #3. At #4, we see Alvin Kamara, which was technically a steal because I have him ranked as my #3 overall player in fantasy drafts, my #3 overall running back. So a great pick there at 4. At #5, we see Ezekiel Elliott come off the board. Personally, I have Aaron Jones ranked ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. We see them go back-to-back here at 5 and 6, but it really is a very close coin flip, so I don't really see anything wrong with either of those picks. And then I was up at #7, and I went with Austin Eckler, running back of the LA Chargers. I like Austin Eckler a lot this season in a PPR league. I think he has a whole bunch of upside from that receiving volume that he's going to be getting here in LA for the Chargers. With the other running backs that were available, Saquon Barkley, I'm not super confident in, not because I think he's a bad player, but this Giants offense is probably going to be bad. He's also dealing with injury, maybe on a snap count, week 1, maybe week 2, maybe week 3 as well, so early on in the season. Maybe he also just doesn't play in some of the early games, which is worrisome, so that's why I went with Austin Eckler at 7. At #8, we see Joe Mixon, which is probably the biggest this is the biggest reach by far thus far in the draft. I like Joe Mixon, but inside the first round, I would be looking elsewhere at running back. At #9, we see Saquon Barkley. 10, Devontae Adams. 11, Nick Chubb. 12, Stephon Diggs. 13, Travis Kelce. And 14, Jonathan Taylor. Nothing super out of the ordinary in the first round aside from Joe Mixon at #8, which is a complete and utter reach. I think that we did see a decent amount of non-running backs go in the first round. We saw Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Adams, which is pretty normal. The first round in just about every single draft is just heavily dominated by the running back position because people are very worried when you're drafting, especially in a 14-team league. If you're one of these early picks and you don't take a running back, the swing back around takes a very long time, and the running backs you're going to be left with in the second round aren't going to be the greatest, especially in bigger leagues like 14 or 16 team. But again, nothing really too out of the ordinary besides Joe Mixon. The second round begins with Najee Harris followed by Antonio Gibson. So Najee Harris at pick #15 definitely isn't a reach at this point. I've seen a lot of drafts where Najee Harris gets drafted inside of the first round in a 12-team league. Now, am I going to do that? Probably not, but I do understand the value that he presents in Pittsburgh. The offensive line is complete and utter dog shit, but they are still going to be able to give this guy a lot of dump offs. James Conner looked very, very good for the last couple of seasons. Obviously not last year with the bad offensive line, but Najee Harris is a freak talent. There's a reason why they drafted him inside the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. So Najee Harris feels like a solid pick there at 15. 16, I'm not in love with Antonio Gibson because I do worry about J.D. McKissic really stealing a lot of those receptions on the team, but inside of the second round of pick 16, that's perfectly normal. At #17, we see Tyreek Hill, followed by DeAndre Hopkins. I personally personally disagree with DeAndre Hopkins getting picked ahead of Calvin Ridley. I think that Calvin Ridley could finish as the #1 overall wide receiver in fantasy football from a huge amount of volume coming from Matt Ryan in this offense. Calvin Ridley dominated last year with Julio Jones in the lineup and without Julio Jones there, Calvin Ridley is the clear #1 in this offense. At number 20, we see DK Metcalf, who, if you guys watch my videos, I am not super confident in DK Metcalf this season. I believe they're going to be running the ball a whole bunch in Seattle, and that's going to really hurt DK Metcalf. But there's also the other scenario where there's the devil, the angel on your shoulder, and the angel is telling me that DK Metcalf is really good, which he is. I just worry about the kind of amount of passing they're going to do there in Seattle. At number 21, we have one of my favorite players in Chris Carson, but at pick number 21, that is certainly a reach. So I was up at pick number 22. Remember, we already have Austin Eckler on this roster, so I went with Darren Waller. In a 14-team league, I understand the risk that I just took here to get a tight end over drafting maybe a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another running back in this range. But with Darren Waller comes the positional advantage. I have Darren Waller ranked as my #2 tight end, and I believe he could actually beat out Travis Kelce to be the #1 tight end. So say he finishes as the #2 overall tight end in fantasy football. I now have a better tight end than 12 other teams in the league. Every week, I win the tight end matchup. Basically, aside from when I play up against the guy that has Travis Kelce, depending on the matchup, maybe Waller can outscore him. But you guys kind of understand what I'm getting to here. I believe that Darren Waller is a huge advantage at tight end. A lot of people are going to be scrambling on the waiver wire to find that tight end. They're scrambling on their roster to figure out which tight end to start. And I have Darren Waller, who I know week in and week out is going to be seeing a whole lot of volume in Las Vegas. Because in my opinion, Darren Waller is the clear #1 target in Las Vegas at 23. We see Clyde Edwards-Helaire come off the board, which is a great value as Chris Carson went ahead of him. 24, we see Patrick Mahomes. Now, my standpoint, my viewpoint on taking a quarterback early is that in the second round, it is too early. I would much rather wait until the 4th round and take whichever one of the top 5 quarterbacks is going to be available inside of the 4th or 5th round, because inevitably, sure, Mahomes will go here, maybe Josh Allen will go soon, but inevitably, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray may be available a couple of rounds from then, so I don't like reaching on the quarterback position, especially in a 12-team or a 14-team league like this is, where your running back depth is going to take a huge hit if you do it. Now, I understand, if you want Patrick Mahomes, you have to take the pick here, because in the 3rd round, he probably would be gone, but in my opinion, I don't like that pick. After that, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, nothing really too out of the ordinary there. Then Mike Davis, which is, I like Mike Davis, but in the 2nd round, that is a very big reach. 28, J.K. Dobbins. Now, this was before J.K. Dobbins got hurt, so this was actually, in my opinion, a very good pick at the time. Now, obviously, a shit pick, but that won't affect his draft grade, as there's no way he could have just rubbed the crystal ball or had a That's So Raven vision where he could have seen that happening. Next up, we see A.J. Brown come off the board, followed by Keenan Allen. Nothing super strange there. Josh Allen. So, had David had waited to go ahead and get Pat Mahomes in the 3rd round, he would not have fallen his way, because Jarrell took Josh Allen at 31. Again, not super in love with taking a quarterback early. I understand why some people do it, but I'm not about that standpoint, so I don't really like that pick. After that, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, another pick that I do not like, kind of beating up on David in this video. I talked about DeAndre Swift in depth in yesterday's video, talking about my do not draft running backs. Now, I certainly see the upside that comes with DeAndre Swift, as he is one of the best receiving threats on this offense. He's going to be a dump-off machine later in games, but he's coming into the season with an injury. He's coming into the season where Dan Campbell is saying it's a 1-2 punch at running back in Detroit. And I believe DeAndre Swift is miles in skill set above Jamal Williams. But what if Jamal Williams gets off on the right foot week 1, right? He's playing well, and then week 2, DeAndre Swift comes back, but it's the hot hand approach in Detroit, like Dan Campbell said. So maybe Williams gets that hot hand early on and DeAndre Swift loses out. Now, I don't assume that's going to happen, but I do worry a bit about a team that's going to be very, very bad in Detroit having a running back on that team. At number 34, we see George Kittle. Now, I'm not a big fan of George Kittle. I personally, not really that I'm not a fan of him, because I think he's a great player, but I'm not a fan of this offense, because I'm confused about what's going to happen when Jimmy Garoppolo gets benched for Trey Lance, how the offense changes. I think George Kittle's a great player. He's fine in the 3rd round, just not a pick I would have made. But obviously, I already had Darren Waller, so I was not even considering him at this point. At 35, I went with James Robinson. I understand it was probably a reach a little bit at this point, but we're in the 3rd round of a 14-team league, if I don't draft a running back here that I want inside of the next round in the 4th round, I probably would not have felt as confident at all because I knew a bunch of running backs were going to come after me. So James Robinson, running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Carlos Hyde will be involved there, but overall, I feel like James Robinson will be the lead back there with top 12 potential. But if he doesn't finish inside the top 12, I'm not all that mad either with where I got him at this value. At number 36, we see Russell Wilson. That was a terrible pick. Russell Wilson would have been available in the next round, would have been available probably in the round after that, maybe even the round after that. So taking him ahead of Kyler, Lamar, Dak is very questionable. 37, we see CeeDee Lamb. 38, Myles Gaskin. 39, Darrell Henderson. 40, Miles Sanders. So a nice threesome right there at the running back position. I don't like Miles Sanders that much because I worry about the running back by committee. But again, if he does get a stranglehold of that offense, he could be very, very good for fantasy this season at 41. Allen Robinson, 42, a very good value of Julio Jones at the back of the 3rd round. But again, you got to understand that this is pick 42, so it is much later compared to a 10 or a 12-team league. The 4th round opens with Robert Woods, followed by Josh Jacobs, which is a pick that I very much dislike. I believe that Kenyon Drake is going to have a big influence on this offense in the receiving game. Josh Jacobs is going to be very touchdown dependent, and if he doesn't score in games, I think he's going to be a swing and a miss. 45, Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds, just like with DeAndre Swift, is in my do not draft running back video that I talked about from yesterday. Chase Edmonds is going to have some value there. If he becomes the lead back, then that was a great pick, but I think James Conner could easily become the lead back in this offense. It appears that Cliff Kingsbury doesn't really believe in Chase Edmonds. After that, we see Chris Godwin, followed by Kyler Murray, Damian Harris, which at the time seemed like a pretty solid pick, and I still agree that is a very solid pick inside the 4th round. That's kind of the range we're looking at running back at this point, but we do see a bunch of wide receivers go off the board, so it is entirely possible that maybe he made it into the 5th round. But again, when you're in these drafts where you have to wait so long until your next pick, you might as well get your guy. At number 49, we have Amari Cooper, and at 50, I went with Deontay Johnson, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am of the belief that Deontay Johnson is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in targets in Pittsburgh on a team that I believe is going to be relatively pass heavy. I think Deontay Johnson did fix those drop issues that he had last season and does have top 12 potential this season. But before we get into the next breakdown of the next bunch of picks, I'd like to ask if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Next up, we got Mike Evans, followed by Tyler Lockett in my do not draft wide receiver video. But inside of the end of the 4th round here, which is much more like the end of the 5th round, I do get the value there, or the middle of the 5th round, I do get the value there with Tyler Lockett at 53. We see Lamar Jackson. Again, not really about drafting quarterback early, but at the end of the 4th round, it's a little bit more understandable. 54, we got Jerry Jeudy, a player I really like, but definitely a reach at that value. 55, Mark Andrews, and 56, Cooper Kupp. Seeing Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp go in the same round is definitely interesting, but again, it is a 14-team league, so I understand it. 57, we see Wiki DJ Moore. 58, Justin Herbert, the pervert. 59, TJ Hawkinson in the 5th round of a 14-team league is a huge value. I think TJ Hawkinson could easily be a top 3 tight end this season because what I talked about with DeAndre Swift about how he's probably one of the best receiving options on that team. Hawkinson is probably the best receiving option on that team, and Goff has shown in the past that he will throw to the tight end. At number 60, we see T. Higgins, followed by Adam Thielen, Kareem Hunt. Then at 63, I went with Kenny Golladay. When we did this draft, I was pretty sure Golladay would be back this week, but he's not back yet, and that is a very worrisome pick at this point. Very worrisome that he's going to continue to be banged up. Hopefully, he's healthy relatively soon. Otherwise, that was a huge swing and the miss inside the 5th round. After that, Robbie Anderson, pretty early compared to Brandon Ayuk, Chase Claypool, who in my opinion are much better values at that pick. 65, Brandon Ayuk at 66. My dad drafted Devin Singletary on an auto pick. That is one of the worst picks of this draft thus far. Devin Singletary is not good. He's a fine value when he goes like the 12th round, but in the 5th round, not something I'm looking to do. At number 67, Dak Prescott. So in this 5th round, you could get Dak Prescott. Or in the 3rd round, you could have drafted Russell Wilson. I mean, who really got the value there? Let me know. Who do you think the better value was there? The answer is obviously Dak Prescott. After that, Aaron Rodgers, Chase Claypool at pick number 69. Very nice. And falling very far into the end of the 5th round, Kyle Pitts, who I'm not a huge fan of, but at that value, I think that that's a smash pick. At 71, Javonte Williams. 72, Corey Davis, who I love this season. I'm a big fan of Corey Davis, as I believe he will be the true wide receiver 1 in New York. 73, Juju Smith-Schuster, who is also on my do not draft wide receiver list for today. I think Mike basically just drafted the all do not draft team, which is pretty funny. Yeah. Corvette. 74, we got Devontae Smith. Excellent pick by Kevin. 75, Raheem Mostert. While a lot of people talk up Trey Sermon, I think Raheem Mostert is a pretty solid value at this point in the 6th round, as he looked very, very good in preseason week number 3. 76, we are now in, after Kyle Pitts becomes the tight end dead zone. Now, I don't think anyone calls it that, but I'm going to call it that. After those big 5, those big 6 tight ends, after that, I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Thomas was the tight end 7. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the tight end 14, because there's so many tight ends in that range that could beat out each other. So I don't really get picking Logan Thomas here when you could just wait a couple more rounds and select a different tight end. After Logan Thomas came Melvin Gordon. I went with Michael Carter. Also not looking like the greatest pick at this point, but with the running backs I have already, I'm pretty confident in waiting on Michael Carter to be my running back number 2/flex option a bunch of weeks in the season, because I believe he will eventually become the guy. 79, Odell Beckham Jr. He was also on my do not draft list. 79 is all right value for Odell Beckham Jr. 80, Tyler, Boyd, one of my must draft wide receivers. A little early though, in my opinion, for Boyd, but not really, though. Pick 80 really isn't all that early. 81, Robert Tonyan, another dead zone tight end. 82, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. 83, Marquez Callaway, who's a great sleeper. A little early, in my opinion, in the 8th round. And the 8th round closes out, which is a little bit early in the 6th round. The 6th round closes with Matthew Stafford. The 7th round begins with Dallas Goedert, another dead zone tight end. After that, Leonard Fournette, Mike Williams, James Conner, excellent value in the 7th round. Mike Gesicki, Trey Sermon, even better of a pick. I think Trey Sermon could be the running back 1 there in San Francisco. I still do like Raheem Mostert, though. At 91, I went with Courtland Sutton. There's a lot of negativity being spat around about Courtland Sutton, and while I like Jerry Jeudy definitely more than Courtland Sutton, I was able to get Courtland Sutton a lot later than Jerry Jeudy, so I'm fine with that here. At 91, 92, we got Mr. Business is booming, Antonio Brown, followed by his teammate Ronald Jones, who a lot of people aren't talking up enough. I like Ronald Jones a lot this season. 94, Michael Thomas. 95, Will Fuller, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Cooks, and Jamar Chase. I hate Jamar Chase. At pick 98, I understand it, though. I'm starting to like Deebo a lot more recently, so finally, a very nice pick from Mike. I'm starting to like Deebo because he's looked good in preseason. I thought maybe he was going to struggle, but I still don't know what this offense is going to look like with Trey Lance under center, if they change the scheme completely, or if they're going to actually do what they did. If you guys watched preseason week number 3 of the 49ers versus the Raiders, let me know. And let me know what you guys thought about that, because they were playing, it was like Jimmy Garoppolo, then out of nowhere, they insert Trey Lance, then they take Lance out, they take Garoppolo, and Garoppolo rushes into touchdown. It is like a crazy, high school football, college football, Madden 21 storyline, quarterback 1 type of deal. It was very, very weird to see. I doubt they're going to do that in season. At number 99, we see Ryan Tannehill, followed by Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake, Gus Bus Edwards, which was the steal of the draft, because Gus Edwards did become the running back 1 after the injury to J.K. Dobbins. After that, Irv Smith, which obviously a swing and a miss because of injury, but at the time that was a fine pick. After that, Marvin Jones, great value inside the 8th round. Zach Moss, also great value in the 8th round. I went with Michael Gallup. I went with a high upside wide receiver. I really wanted Marvin Jones. He didn't fall to me. I didn't like the other wide receivers in this range, so I said, fuck it, let me get Michael Gallup, who I think will have a bunch of solid games this season, a bunch of really good games. Obviously, there'll be those duds where Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb really go off, but inside of this round, I was fine with it. James White, definitely a reach, but now with Mac Jones under center, I'm liking James White a lot more. David Johnson, who knows what's going to happen there in Houston. I'd rather wait till later and take Lindsey or Mark Ingram. 109, Curtis Samuel, 110, Jarvis Landry, 111, Sterling Shepard, and 112, A.J. Dillon. Sterling Shepard, that is way too early for him inside of the 8th round. The 9th round begins with DJ Chark, who's starting to go later and later in drafts, which almost makes him more of a value than Marvin Jones. After that, Sony Michel, who is just a glorified backup. 115, Latavius Murray, who I don't think they cut him, but he's in danger of for some reason they don't like him. even though he has shown that if Alvin Kamara was to get hurt, he could be a excellent running back for fantasy. So we didn't get cut, so that's fine. I like Latavius Murray there. After that, Laviska Shenault, Russell Gage, Big Ben Roethlisberger, and I went with Jalen Hurts. I was at the point in the draft where I was like, fuck it, I need a quarterback. I don't have one yet. I'm going to go for the highest upside possible, because if Jalen Hurts hits, and he's really good. He's a top 5 quarterback. I did draft a quarterback later on in the draft to kind of supplement if Jalen Hurts ends up stinking. After that, Gronk, way too early, followed by Joe Burrow, Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, Elijah Moore, Darnell Mooney, great pick there. I like Elijah Moore as well. And J.D. McKisson Titties, great picks all around inside of the 9th round. The 10th round begins with Mecole Hardman, a high upside shot, an upside shot I don't really believe in, but I understand it. Naheem Hines, Hollywood Brown, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, Cole Beasley. A lot of people aren't really talking about Cole Beasley. He's a super safe pick late with a decent amount of upside in Buffalo. Nelson Aguilar, great pick now, especially with Mac Jones under center. I went with Phillip Lindsay because I said, you know what? Maybe Phillip Lindsay will become the #1 running back in this committee. Jacoby Myers, a decent steal as well. I would lean Jacoby Myers right now ahead of Nelson Aguilar. After that, Carlos Hyde, the backup for James Robinson, Henry Ruggs, and then the first kicker came off the board in Harrison, Bucker the Fucker, followed by Tevin Coleman, and Chuba Hubbard, the handcuff for Christian McCaffrey. He drafted Christian McCaffrey. He got his handcuff. I understand it. Am I necessarily looking to do that in all drafts? No. But in a 14-team league, that guarantees that he has a running back every single week. Except for on the bye, I guess. Yeah, that's how that would work. Next up, we got Noah Fant, the LA Rams defense, AJ Green, my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku, T.Y. Hilton, which is a swing of a miss. Even without the injury, I hate T.Y. Hilton. I'm with Brian Edwards. We're at the point where, sure, it's round 11, but in reality, we're at pick 147. We're very deep in drafts. I said, you know what? Maybe he'll be the wide receiver 1 in Viva Las Vegas. After that, Matt Ryan, Justin Tucker the Fucker, Rashad Penny, Michael Pittman, very good pick there, knowing now that he could be the wide receiver 1 in Indy. Tyler Higbee, I like a lot of that upside there in LA with Matthew Stafford. Justin Fields, great pick as well. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I'm not about to draft a defense early. I don't think I did that in this draft. Maybe I drafted one like a round or two early, but if you draft them in like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th round, anywhere near there, I think that's a little bit crazy. Rodrigo Blankenship, followed by, you like that, Kirk Cousins, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, famous Jameis Winston, the now starter of the Saints. I love Jameis. I don't know what it is. I just feel like he may end up finishing as a top 12 quarterback, and in the 12th round, that's great. Damian Williams, LaMichael P. Ryan, don't understand that. I would have drafted the other Jets running backs over him. Zach Ertz, don't understand that either. I went with Giovanni Bernard because he was the only running back of value there, and they're talking about giving him more well, he is like the best receiving back there, so it does kind of make sense. Maybe he'll have some solid value, and if Rojo or Fournette were to go down, he definitely has a lot of value. After that, Trevor Lawrence, Rashad Bateman, Jerick McKinnon, Austin Hooper, Christian Kirk, and Jason Sanders. The 13th round opens with the Ravens defense, Baker Mayfield, Malcolm Brown. I personally would prefer to handcuff Myles Gaskin with Salvon Ahmed. I believe that Salvon Ahmed is the better overall player, and he will get more use if Gaskin was to go down. After that, Deshaun Watson. That is one of the picks that is interesting to look at in every draft because we don't know too much about Watson. Right now, it seems like he's not going to play at all this year, but in the 13th round, with the upside, like if he plays, he's a top 5 quarterback, even if the Houston Texans suck. After that, the Buccaneers, Kenneth Gainwell. I went with Derek Carr because I am worried about Jalen Hurts and that this is a deep league, right? It's a 14-team league. There's 17 rounds. You need a backup quarterback in that scenario because the quarterbacks on the waiver wire are probably terrible. I don't even think there's a starting quarterback on the waiver wire. After that, Emmanuel Sanders, which I don't understand why people draft him. Washington football team, Zach Pascal, Trey Lance, great value there inside of this round. Deshaun Jackson, Perry Campbell, and Devontae Booker. 14th round opens with Benny Snell, followed by Terrell Williams, Tariq Cohen, Jalen Reagor, Darrington Evans, Zach Wilson, Indianapolis Colts defense, Gerald Everett, who I got here as my backup tight end. I don't normally draft backup tight ends, but in a 14-team league with 7 rounds, or 17 rounds, I should say, you kind of need to do that. I think he has top 12 potential in Seattle. After that, Cam Newton. Ken ended up cutting Cam Newton and adding Mac Jones. After that, Ryan Fitzmagic, Mark Ingram, excellent value here in the 14th round, especially in a really deep league. He could really end up being the #1 running back in Houston. After that, Terrence Marshall, great value. Boston Scott, Daniel Jones. I don't know why anyone would ever want to draft Mr. Danny Dimes, Jamison Crowder, MVS, Will Lutz, New England Patriots defense, Darius Slayton, 49ers defense. I went with Ramondre Stevenson, who I like way more now that Mac Jones is the quarterback. If Harris was to go down, Stevenson, man, oh man, he looked really good in preseason, has big potential, but if Harris was to stay healthy, I don't really see too much value in him. But again, we're in the 15th round. Tyler Bass, Le'Veon Bell, not even on a team. Greg Zuerlein, Evan Ingram, Mason Crosby, Van Jefferson, that guy's like the wide receiver 7 on the Rams, and Gabe Davis, excellent pick at the end of the 15th round. John Brown, Ryan Suckup, Darrell Williams, Miami Dolphins defense, Kansas City Chiefs, Eric Ebron, Jason Myers. I went with the Denver Broncos defense because of their early season schedule. That's what I look to do when I draft a defense, to find a defense playing a not so hot opponent week 1. The Broncos' first 3 games are, I think it's the Giants, the Jaguars, then the Jets. I believe that's the exact order. That's amazing. First 3 weeks. Don't even have to cut him. Daniel Carson, Xavier Jones, who probably now is the running back 3 in LA. Mike Badgley, Rondell Moore, Arizona Cardinals, and Randall Cobb. And then the final round, Rashad Higgins, Brandon McManus, Quadre Ollison, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, both New England tight ends going back-to-back. Could have some big value there out of either of those guys. Cole Kmet, Joey Sly, who ended up getting cut, so I cut him and added Robbie Gould. New Orleans Saints, Kendrick Bourne, Samaje Perine, Cario Santos defenses, and Blake Jarwin was the Mr. Irrelevant pick. So now we're going to go ahead and look at every single team, and I'm going to give them all a team grade. So if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, I hope this was informational so you guys can kind of get my opinion on a lot of these players. Hopefully here you can get the value of understanding what I believe is the best setup in a 14-team league. I will talk about my team last. So we're going to go first to Making It Wanye, Johnny. Off of a first glance, this team looks amazing. Kirk Cousins. I don't like Josh Jacobs, but again, he is a running back 2 in a 14-team league. Antonio Gibson, Allen Robinson, Chase Claypool, Travis Kelce, Corey Davis. Starting roster is amazing. I don't love Kirk Cousins, but, you know, when you're in this kind of a league with a deeper league, that's going to end up being your starting quarterback. Justin Fields will eventually become his starter. This team looks very, very good. Naheem Hines, Jamal Williams, excellent value. Running backs, Petty Campbell, Brandon Cooks, Van Jefferson, who I don't like, Darnell Mooney, and Tyrell Williams. This is a very good team. This is an A. This is an A because he has literally a top 12 running back, potentially. I have Antonio Gibson in the top 12. Top 12 running back, a top 12 wide receiver, the number 1 tight end, and a potential, running back 2 in Josh Jacobs, a great upside shot on Claypool and Corey Davis. The starting roster itself is amazing. This is a very good team. This is an A overall. Next up, after Johnny, we got Lights, Kamara, Action, Ravi. So Ravi's got Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery, T.E. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Robert Tonyan, and Curtis Samuel. This team is great as well. Deshaun Watson, James Conner, Mark Ingram, Jerick McKinnon, A.J. Green, Henry Ruggs, Laviska Shenault, and Jonnu Smith. So the starting roster, chef's kiss besides Curtis Samuel. The bench, though, A.J. Green, Henry Ruggs, no. But overall, the team's still really good, though. So this is also going to be an A team. This team is also great. I like both of these teams a lot. Next up, we got my father, Luca Brasi, Kyler Murray, Myles Gaskin, Devin Singletary. Terrible pick, but besides that, the team looks really good. Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Irv Smith, obviously out, but at the time, didn't know that. Raheem Mostert, Tua Tagovailoa, Darrington Evans, Rashad Penny, Samaje Perine, Tony Pollard, Damian Williams, Zach Pascal, Jared Cook, and Michael Thomas. If anything was to happen to Myles Gaskin or Raheem Mostert, the whole fucking ship sinks on this roster at the running back position because he requires injuries to Derrick Henry, Carson, Mixon, Zeke, or David Montgomery for any value out of the bench running backs. The team is still solid because you can put Jared Cook in there. This looks like a B to B+ in my mind. Next up, we got Nick top, Cat bottom. Mike, he's got Aaron Rodgers, Chase Edmonds, Miles Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Tyler Higbee, Juju Smith-Schuster. So Mike, in this case, took an excellent start of Diggs and Tyreek Hill and basically just kicked it right in the cock and just completely fucked up what could have been a legendary team. I know Mike's watching this. That's kind of why I'm going a little bit harder on him. I think that's kind of funny. But shout out to you, Mike. Thank you for watching the video. Love you. Thank you. So Chase Edmonds and Miles Sanders. Don't love the running backs. I do like Sanders way more, though, when compared to Chase Edmonds. I don't like Juju. The bench is all right. Tariq Cohen, who you can put on the IR. Kenyon Drake, solid backup for Josh Jacobs. Darrell Williams, Hollywood Brown, Deshaun Jackson. I like Elijah Moore a lot. I like Debo a lot. So solid bench wide receivers. The bench running backs are all right. This is overall, though, a pretty solid team. It's really just Chase Edmonds and Miles Sanders that just doesn't get me all hyped up. This is, though, above, I would say, my dad's team. This is probably a B-plus roster. Next up, we got Soul Survivors, Jarrell. His quarterback is Josh Allen. Running backs are Latavius Murray and Derrick Henry. Wide receivers, Jarvis Landry and Terry McLaurin. Tight end, Austin Hooper. And his running back / wide receiver / tight end, a.k.a. the flex, is Jerry Jeudy. His bench is comprised of Tom Brady, Malcolm Brown, Quadre Ellison, Terrace Marshall, Ronald Jones. He's got Mike Williams and T.J. Hawkinson. So I don't know why he's starting Hooper over Hawkinson. That really threw me for a whirl there. This is a solid team. Not really a running back 2, though, at all on his team, which is very concerning. I mean, this is a solid team, but he probably shouldn't have drafted Brady and just kept Allen. The team would have been a lot better. This is a C team, a C overall. Run CMC, that is Joe. He's got Matthew Stafford, Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon. Obviously, things went wrong with J.K. Dobbins, so I'm going to pretend as if J.K. Dobbins played because that's when we drafted, so I think it's unfair to say, oh, your team fucking sucks because there was an injury. I think that's kind of wrong when grading a draft. So after McCaffrey went A.J. Dillon, he's got Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, D.J. Moore, Danny Dimes, Chuba Hubbard, Marlon Mack, D.J. Chark, Randall Cobb, Jamison Crowder, Rashad Higgins, Devontae Parker. Now, I bet, thinking back, Joe really regrets not drafting more backup running backs. Got a lot of receivers, but overall, if Dobbins was playing, this is a really good team. I like it a lot. This is a B-plus team. Obviously, probably more of a B- with Dobbins hurt, but again, he did not know that as he was making his pick. Next up, we got the Fat Boys, Ken, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mike Evans, Odell, George Kittle, Kareem Hunt. Bench comprised of Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Sermon, James White, T.Y. Hilton, Jacoby Myers, Cole Kmet. This is an excellent team as well. I don't like Kittle that much, but again, I'm fine where he took him. I don't like Odell at all, but overall, there's a very balanced approach to a team. I don't really understand rostering 3 quarterbacks, but he did draft Cam, so he cut Cam and added Mac Jones, which makes a lot of sense. So this is a very good team. Starting running backs are amazing. I don't like Odell, but I'm kind of coming around to Mike Evans. So this is overall a really good team. This is an A- roster here for Mr. Fat Boys. Next up, we got the Lombardi Trophy. Justin Herbert, the pervert. Starting quarterback. Running backs are Mike Davis. Dalvin Cook. Wide receivers are Keenan Allen and Marquise Callaway. Tight end is Mark Andrews. Flex is Sterling Shepard. His bench is comprised of Baker Mayfield, Tevin Coleman, Leonard Fournette, Sony Michel, Boston Scott, Christian Kirk, MVS, and Noah Fant. This is a roster that concerns me. If you're looking at this as a whole, it looks all right. But he really reached on Mike Davis, and his flex is Sterling Shepard, and I'm not too sure who he would start ahead of Sterling Shepard on the flex. This is a C team. Overall, I don't really like this team at all. Next up, Le'Veon La Vida Loca. The starting roster here, we got Joe Burrow, followed by Saquon Barkley, Damian Harris, DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, Logan Thomas, and Marvin Jones. This starting team, if Saquon actually plays, if Barkley ends up playing, then this roster is amazing as well. The bench, Ronald Jones, LaMichael P. Don't like LaMichael P. Ryan, Cole Beasley. Don't understand Kendrick Bourne. Bench is all right. Starting roster really good. This is a B overall team. If the bench was better, this would definitely be an A-, B+ type of team. Next up, we got Ben DiNucci's darlings, Kevin, who also fell asleep during the draft. Shout out to Kevin. Dak Prescott, Nick Chubb, Darrell Henderson, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, Easy E, Evan Ingram, who's probably going to miss some time, Devontae Smith, Trey Lance, Jameis Winston, Gus Edwards, Alexander Madison, Will Fuller, Michael Pittman, Jalen Reagor, Jalen Waddle. This is the best team. I think. Now, I can't remember every single team off the top of my head. If this isn't the best team, because I don't remember necessarily, I'm going to give this an A. It's definitely one of the best teams by far. Gus Edwards, that was one of the luckiest moves ever. He's going to be your flex. The tight end is suspect, but the bench, the whole team as a whole, is literally amazing, in my opinion. Next up, we got my ball, Zach Ertz, with Patrick Mahomes, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Swift, Tyler Lockett, Russell Gage, Mike Gesicki, Adam Thielen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carlos Hyde, David Johnson, Xavier Jones, Rashad Bateman, Boyd, Slayton, and Henry. I really like the bench here. I like the starting roster as well. Not sold on Swift or Lockett. Gage is the wide receiver 2. Looks suspicious, but he does have Adam Thielen as the actual wide receiver 2. This is a very good team, but this is what your team looks like when you draft Mahomes in the second round. This is what it looks like. Had he waited, maybe a couple rounds, got Dak instead, got Lamar instead, then this team would be way better. So this is a very solid team, though. B+, actually A- overall. Next up, we got my ball, Zach Ertz, who we just talked about, which was David. I don't know why I clicked on him again. Again, that's an A-. And the final team before we talk about mine, Alvin and the Chipmunks. Ryan Tannehill, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Kyle Pitts, Javonte Williams, Devontae Booker, J.D. McKissick, Benny Snell, John Brown, Jamar Chase, Gabe Davis, McCole Hardman, and Blake Jarwin. I hate Javonte Williams. Now, hate is obviously a very strong word, but when it comes to like a running back for this year, I think Williams is going to get screwed by Melvin Gordon. I really do. I do, but this team overall is really good. This is another A roster, and finally, we're going to get to my own team. So I don't think really any teams here were completely terrible, though, based upon what I've talked about in this video. Hopefully, you guys have ended up enjoying this far. Jalen Hurts, Austin Eckler, James Robinson, Kenny Golladay, Deontay Johnson, Darren Waller, Michael Gallup. This is what a team looks like when you draft a tight end really early in a 14-team league. Derek Carr, Giovanni Bernard, Michael Carter. Hopefully he hits, because otherwise that was a huge swing and a miss. Philip Lindsay, Ramondre Stevenson, Bryan Edwards, John Brown did just get cut. Stonks up for Bryan Edwards, Cortland Sutton, and Gerald Everett. So overall, I like my team a lot. I worry about Kenny Golladay. I worry about my flex every single week. I worry about Michael Carter. But if Carter ends up hitting later on in the season, Cortland Sutton ends up being solid, this is going to be a very solid team, but I'm not going to give myself an A because, man, I'm really worried about Kenny Golladay, if I'm being honest with you, and I'm pretty worried about Michael Carter. So this is a B team. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know down below who you guys believe has the best team in this league. I love you guys all so much. Thank you for watching throughout this whole video. Hopefully it was informative enough for you to have wanted to watch for 40 minutes. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe as always. Goodbye.